Hello, visionary, and welcome back to our channel. This is Raquel of Raquel and Davidian Unleash Your Genius. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing human design and spiritual awakening and the 5D consciousness. If you don't know any of these terms, don't worry. I'm going to get into it, explain them all in depth. I'm also going to be explaining why it's so important to understand all of these concepts on a deep level because of the times that we're in. I'm going to show why they're related and how to integrate these ideas and tools into your everyday life. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being part of our community. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. We go into all things woo and spiritual and also human design. We discuss all about your uniqueness and your DNA code and help you to really practically understand this stuff so that you can transform your life into one that is satisfying, that is successful, all based on the uniqueness of you. I'll see you on the inside. So let's get into it. Human design and 5D and spiritual awakening. What are these concepts and what do they have in common? So the first thing I want to talk about is human design. If you're new to this channel, this might be a new concept for you. So we have a ton of other videos, and I will put some in the description below that show you how to read your human design chart. It is a personal assessment tool that combines the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the ancient mystery school teachings, as well as modern day sciences like quantum physics and neutrino sciences. It's a deep dive into discovering who you are, and it is a tool unlike any other. For those of you who don't know my background, I have been on a deep spiritual journey since I was about 21 years old when I met my first shaman. I traveled all over the world to Egypt, to Peru, to sacred sites, and I was a seeker. I had a lot of spiritual awakenings and a lot of insights during that time. I've also gotten my master's in spiritual psychology. So I have been a lifetime seeker in not just spiritual experiences, but also in healing trauma and developing empathy and compassion and learning how to process my childhood wounds and traumas so that I could live as a whole being. And part of my journey through this spiritual maze with teachers that were completely out of integrity and doing all sorts of crazy things to really finding enlightened teachers and discovering the difference, I also discovered that something was really missing in my education. And I still had trouble having a career that really felt fulfilling and felt as though I was on my purpose. And I had been doing all kinds of law of attraction, Reiki, pretty much anything that you could learn, I had tried and studied. When I discovered human design, I realized that there is a real piece to this spiritual awakening puzzle that was missing. And that is the understanding of the nine-centered being. Most of the spiritual teachings centered around and still do center around the seven-centered chakra being. And so the human design brings forward this intel on how to awaken with our modern technology, with the human that we are today. However, because of the founder of the human design intel, there is a void in the information when it comes to spiritual awakening and spiritual development. Now, if you know anything about spiral dynamics, you know that you just cannot see upper tiers until you have your own spiritual awakening and your own spiritual insights. And from my understanding, the founder of human design, the, his name is Ra Uru Hu, did not have these levels of awakening that I have seen in other teachers. And so he has a limited perspective of the 5D and the spiritual awakenings that are now available on the planet. It has transitioned, so he is not leading the crusade in human design at this time. And so the information is designed to mutate and designed to come forward in new ways. And so one of the things and the pieces I think is really important to incorporate is this 5D consciousness. And so I want to spend a little bit of time answering this question. What is 5D consciousness? I want to share this from the perspective of the law of one. That is channeled material that explains so powerfully this transition from third, and they call it density instead of dimensions. So they're saying that we're moving from third density to fourth density, which is really this 5D consciousness. So like what most of the spiritual teachers are talking about is fifth dimension consciousness. And so I want to make sure that you guys are clear on that distinction. What most people are saying, there's a lot of talk about the new earth, this transformation that's happening. And in human design, they talk about the 2027 shift. And what that means is that you can look at the aura mechanics and what's happening on a global epoch with the collective aura mechanics and see the shift that's taken place. Now, when you look at it from the 5D consciousness, from the spiritual perspective, you can read the aura mechanics as a spiritual awakening. And that's why this is so important. I believe that the human design intel is a tool, a map to awakening this 5D consciousness and living as the passenger and the witness and transcending the ego and the limited perception of the mind, which is the third dimension or the third density consciousness, the limitation of the mind. So let me explain to you a little bit of the qualities in the third dimension so you can kind of understand what we're moving out of. So let's dive into some qualities of the third dimension or the third density. In the third density, you see things like war, separation, ego, lack, fear. This concept of service of the self, this comes directly from the law of one. In the material of the law of one, it states that we are here specifically to make a choice between the service of the self or the service of the other. And that is exactly what you might think. So once you learn that we have power as humans, once you realize that we are designed of energy and frequency, and you stop being a victim, you begin to realize that you have the power to co-create with the universe. Now, once you step into that power, you're going to realize that you can create things to serve yourself, or you can create things to serve others. Why would you choose, if we're all one, why would you choose to serve the other? That's the question that we are here to ask ourselves. And most people are so caught up in their own small mind, their daily routines, their jobs, making more money, keeping up with the Joneses, and they don't even have the awareness that this is a question that they need to make a choice about in this lifetime. It's a very, very powerful choice. And the idea is Now, once you understand, if you have everything and all of lack is removed, and you are one with the infinite resources and the absolute of humanity in the universe, and you are in that flow, the only thing you want to truly do is to give to others from the heart, from that flow. If you choose to take and push other people down and choose yourself over others, yes, you may gain more power. Yes, you may gain in popularity. But what you also gain in is further separation and further pain. The ego is pain. However, we need to understand this and make this choice for ourselves. And so once you actually realize that you have power and you have the ability to awaken your co-creation with God, you need to become aware that you're either going to do this to serve your own ego, which is going to keep you, instead of going into the fourth density positive, it's going to put you into the fourth density negative. Now, there is no judgment in the infinite universe. You can choose whichever you prefer, and your soul can make that choice. However, according to the law of one, which rings really true for me in this process, is that a choice does need to be made. And we here on the earth plane are moving towards the fourth density positive. And according to this intel, the positive has already happened. So it may look like the egos are fighting back and trying to gain more control and fighting for their position and trying to hold on to tribal rule. However, most of humanity has chosen to be in the fourth density positive, which is love. So let's now talk about the 5D behaviors or the qualities of being in the fifth dimension or the fourth density. What we're calling here is 5D. So 5D behaviors. This is all about the service of the other, which means you are here to serve, which means you have qualities of service in the work that you do. You have the intention to help other people because you know how good it makes you feel when you can serve and when you can show up for other people. Now, this isn't to say that you don't have boundaries, that you don't release people that you need to release, that you don't, set very clear space when you need to fill up your own well. This was a huge lesson for me, and it's a huge lesson of discernment. And many people who are empathic suffer from giving over too much and not maintaining proper boundaries when they're of service. But the intention is to be here to serve the other. It's also about love, kindness, abundance, purpose, and being on purpose. And this is also why the human design piece is so important, because it guides you like a GPS system to your unique purpose. Now, as much as I had vibrated and done so much work in higher densities and channeling, processing, I did not understand how to create my life based on my uniqueness until I integrated the human design intel. Why it is so important to understand this piece to the puzzle, because it helps you navigate through the confusion and through all of the information that we're going to be seeing coming out, and through the many various spirals of consciousness that we have on the planet right now. So everyone is at different levels of consciousness, and their truth is based on what they can see and what they can vibrate at. So you need to make sure that you are looking for the highest frequency information that is aligned to your truth by following your own inner authority. So I have a ton of videos to help you understand your own inner authority, and I will post them in the description below. So what is happening here is we are becoming human angels. We are here on the earth plane, and yet we are connected to the divine frequencies of light, where the veil is more thin, where we are connected to the world in between, where we have clarity that we are here for our awakening. We are here to forgive. We are here to open our hearts and learn the lessons we're here to learn. Forgive all of those people who have hurt us, and ask everyone we have hurt for forgiveness. And as we begin to vibrate at that frequency, we are creating a heaven here on earth. And that is what this 5D consciousness is all about. It's about healing and spiritual awakening. And this is what is happening on the planet right now. And when you look at the 2027, meaning the aura mechanics shift, you can see that that is the wheel shift that we are going through right now. So how does the spiritual awakening show up in your human design chart? Well, yes, there are key factors that ride through the stream of spiritual awakening. There are some gates and some channels that show a deeper spiritual awakening. But the most important thing you need to understand is that this chart is an archetype of the human experience. It is showing us what is available, and it is showing us the process of becoming an evolved human. We have moved from a 7-centered being to a 9-centered being, and we are actually in our next stage of evolution, which is going to even open the centers even more. So they say that this center here, the emotional solar plexus, is going to split into 2 and become a awareness center. And what that means is that the emotions and the emotional center, which is more like a motor now, is going to have the same awareness as the ajna center, meaning the mind. And so the way in which we process emotions, we feel others, we connect emotionally to each other, is going to have a deeper level of consciousness. Also, it is said that the penta is going to be more conscious. What that means to me is that we are going to have a huge amount of empathy for the other people in our inner circles, or in our pods, or in our workplace, or any groups that you're in of 3 or more people. You are going to feel and be conscious of the fact that we are connected. We are energetically connected. And once we understand that as a humanity, we can then move up into that 4th density, where we are as love serving the other, because we know that it is serving us as we serve others. And it is that heightened awareness of love that can allow humanity to move into its higher density of evolution. Your human design chart is not only a guide to assist you in your own spiritual awakening, but it is a map to show us how humanity is striving for its own spiritual awakening. When you allow your mind to become passenger consciousness, the vehicle taps in to the infinite intelligence that is available on the planet. The light body awakens. The soul begins to navigate without the negativity and the small-mindedness of the chatter going on 24/7 in the mind. Once you're able to control that chatter, you're able to let this vehicle do its job, which is to live in the now and in the beingness, the consciousness that you're here to be in, to play your part. Being human is a powerful journey. We do have a choice to make, and you do have a map to help you get there. When your outer authority and your inner authority are in alignment, you are what many would call enlightened. It's when your uniqueness is being expressed perfectly as its uniqueness through the consciousness of the vehicle and transcending the limited consciousness of the mind. What's so interesting is the mystical teachings throughout history have tried to explain this idea of witness consciousness or non-duality or passenger consciousness. And yet it was really hard to really understand how to do it and how to do it uniquely that would best serve each and every person. But this tool actually does give us what we need to uniquely evolve and live our life on purpose and awaken to our truth. With that said, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this material and your own personal journey with either human design or spiritual awakening or the 5D intel. I would love to hear all about your journey and your experience. So please go ahead and comment below. We do try and read all of the comments as best we can. And thank you so much for being part of this community. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please give it a like and share it if you know someone who might be interested in learning more about this. Also, for some fun memes, you can join me on Instagram at Raquel Spiritualized Biz Coach. And we're just super grateful for your participation here in our community.